No.
Okay. Why are you looking at me like that?
I think it's a strange question.
Well, if he had retired within the
Because
past...
now you don't know if he's still playing or if he retired more than 5 years
I can
ago.
ask you now.
Right.
Is he still playing football?
No, but you've wasted 2 questions.
All right, fine. Has he retired within the last 10 years?
No. I don't know. My maths is terrible. That took me an embarrassingly
Right, but
long time.
he retired more than 10 years ago. All right, well, after asking my 3 questions, I am back at square one. All right, if he started at Africa Sports, I'm assuming that it's an African team and he's an African player. He played for Monaco, he played for PSG. Right now, he played for AC Milan. This is really in my backyard. So I should guess it from there. He was at AC Milan, and then he went to Chelsea on a loan deal.
It's a weird move. It's a weird move. But
I could have asked my questions about the positions, right?
yeah, I know. I feel like the practice is going to do you a lot of good in this game, Tommy.
Well, all right, let's do this. I'm going to keep thinking about it during the second half of the show. And I hope that our listeners will as well. And I will try to answer the question at the end of our show.
I would just like to apologize for Tommy asking such terrible questions. And now nobody has any clues. But
yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll get there, right?
All right, so let's move on. We're going to talk about the Premier League now, but don't forget that we're looking for a player who's played for Africa Sports, Monaco, PSG, AC Milan, Chelsea, City, Al Jazeera, and he's retired more than 10 years ago. That's everything that I was...
And Marseille.
And Marseille. Right. Sorry, I forgot Marseille. All right. Welcome back, listeners. This is the part dedicated to our weekly topic, which means that every Friday we'll be delving into a football topic that can range from football history to broader aspects of the beautiful game. But since the Premier League is kicking off tomorrow with Fulham Arsenal, today we are solely going to talk about the English Premier League. How excited are you on a scale from 1 to 10, Rory?
I'm feeling, in general, around a 9.
Right.
From an Arsenal point of view, maybe a 7.5. I think they're very different perspectives to come from. But I think it should be an interesting season. We've got some good teams coming into the league. We've got Leeds, West Brom, Fulham. These are, no disrespect to the teams who went down, but to me, these are proper Premier League teams. These are teams that you've seen for years in the league, and they're gonna come up and they're gonna compete, I think. So I think it's going to be an interesting season. There's a few teams in transition, as always. We had runaway champions who are now maybe looking like they're starting to falter. Man City still don't look like they've improved as much as they need to. Chelsea have done a madness and just gone insane in the transfer market. I think, it should be, as always, it should be a great season in the Premier League.
All right, so let's fast forward to the end of the season, to May or June, I believe. Who do you see lifting the Premier League trophy?
So, listeners, on our social media, you may have seen that we threw out an opportunity for you to make your predictions. Here we're going to make ours. My first prediction, again, not really putting my neck on the line here, but I think it's Chelsea's to lose, really. I think with the business they've done this summer, they have outspent and they've outthought, I think, a lot of teams. It's down to whether Frank Lampard is able to coach them and able to gel a lot of new arrivals into a team so quickly. Obviously, we'll go through the players they've signed. So, Kai Havertz, one of the highest-rated German youngsters in the world right now. Werner,
an incredible highlight reel on YouTube. It's incredible.
Yeah, we watched it the other night, and it was, honestly, I didn't actually know how good he was, which scares me because I don't want to watch him for Chelsea and how good he could be when he inevitably scores against Arsenal.
And it's not like they signed also Timo Werner, right?
Exactly. So they got number 1 rated, and now they've got basically number 2 rated German youngster in Timo Werner as well, who I've not seen anyone hit the ball like him since, I'm going to say, Lucas Podolski. Someone who could hit the ball that hard and that straight. Some of his shots are insane. Then they've boosted their defence with Chilwell from Leicester, who I think they may have slightly overspent on, but is obviously a very good player. Good defensively and offensively. They've brought in Thiago Silva, who I think is exactly what that defence needs. They need an old, steady head. In the Champions League final, he looked like he still had plenty to offer. He was one of the best players in that final.
Yeah,
at 36, right? He stood out. And Ismaila Sarr on a free from Lille, who I'll admit I don't know much about. I just know that a lot of clubs were looking at him. But now, the player I'm most excited about them signing is Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah, I am too. And I mean, how are you going to draw? I mean, I think Lampard's biggest task is going to draw an offensive lineup, keeping it balanced with the defense as well. Because who are you going to play? What would be your front three or your front four when you've got, let's start from Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, you've got Hakim Ziyech, you've got Pulisic, who's now picked up the number 10 jersey.
Yes.
Then you've got Tammy Abraham. You think he's not really going to play? Do you?
I think he's not been given I think he's had one season in the Premier League with Chelsea, and he did okay. It's funny because Chelsea kind of came after the transfer embargo. They did this Project Youth. We're going to bring through all our young players. They do have one of the best youth systems in the country, and it seems to have been abandoned very quickly. But is it surprising? That's what Chelsea have done since Abramovich has taken over. They've spent money. Yeah. I just feel bad for the players that maybe thought they were going to get a chance. They've had a chance, and now it's been taken away quite quickly. So you're looking at Callum Hudson-Odoi. Okay, you're looking at Mason Mount. Will these players still get the same amount of opportunities now they've spent so heavily in the attack? But I want to go quickly back to Hakim Ziyech, because I want to talk about him for a second. In that Ajax team, who were outstanding to watch, he was the player who I enjoyed watching the most. I think he loves a Rabona, an outside foot shot, like cutting in and shooting. I think he's a very exciting player, very unpredictable, and I think he's the one that, for me, he would be almost the first name on the sheet of he's going to start out wide.
Yeah. Didn't he score an incredible goal against Chelsea last year?
He did, yes.
Right from a corner kick?
He did, yes.
I think it was from a corner kick or a free kick.
It was right in the corner, I think. Yeah, or it was
and then
right on the byline.
Hit the post, and then it hit Kepa in the face, which, that was kind of funny to watch.
That's their main... and that brings us on to their main issue, right? Their main issue, they've spent in attack, but their issue still kind of remains in goal.
I mean, I saw that they were scouting some goalkeepers from France, apparently.
Yeah, there's Emmanuel from Rennes, who they are apparently looking for. Again, not someone I know much about, but a highly rated goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think I'm just not fully sold on Chelsea because I look at their defense and I don't think that Thiago Silva can... I mean, I watched more than a few Chelsea games last year, and they have more than one problems in defense. And thinking that a 36-year-old veteran, who is a great player, in my opinion, is going to solve all of your defensive problems, including the goalkeeper, I think that's a little too much.
I think it's kind of similar to, now, allow me for this, but it's kind of similar to the David Luiz signing at Arsenal, right? They're still very good players when David Luiz isn't David Luizing all the time. They can still play well. They're still talented, but mainly they are there to coach the young players. I think they are there for on the training pitch. They're there for the young centre backs to be. You can learn from this guy, right? He's won everything. That's what they're there for. I think, he's not going to solve all their problems, but I think he's there to maybe usher in a bit more steadiness and a bit more calm in a defence that often looks a bit panicked. So for me, they are the team that I think have put themselves head and shoulders above the competition, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to make that bold of a prediction because I am not as big of an expert of the Premier League as you are.
You're very kind.
I just think that there are three teams. The three teams that are looking the best to me are Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, which is funny because Liverpool and Man City haven't really upped their squads. If anything, for example, Man City, they have lost a key player like Sané, which we think is one of the very best in his position in the world right now. But I still think that, I mean, they still have Guardiola as a coach. They also have Lionel Messi now. No, they
Yeah.
don't.
Oh no, it's close. I think it's close.
It's very close. No, he's coming to Inter Milan. I was just kidding, listeners.
He's bought a flat here. Right?
Yeah, he's bought a flat in Milan, as we all know, but he's not going to live there apparently. But I think it's going to be a race between these three teams. How do you feel about Liverpool not spending a single dollar, nor pound, nor euro this summer?
Well, they have. They've brought in a left back from Olympiacos.
All right.
Who now, again, this was against Arsenal and against Arsenal's defence. But when Olympiacos knocked us out, he did impress me. He was very quick. I need to remember his name because it was a Greek name.
Let's open the magic notebook.
Oh, it's gone. But all I can tell you is that he was very impressive. But the main point I wanted to talk about was that Liverpool generate their own income when it comes to transfers. So they have to sell to buy. And in the past, they've sold Coutinho and they've bought Virgil van Dijk, right? Now, they've not had a big sale recently because nobody wants to leave Liverpool, right? They are the best team in the world at the moment, okay? So
arguably,
I think, well...
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, you would maybe put Bayern
year.
Munich ahead of them. But anyway, they're right up there, right?
Yep.
And so obviously no players want to leave. So this summer they've been struggling to spend money. Now, the issue at Liverpool could be that things start to grow a bit stagnant, which says a lot more about football, I think, than it does about Liverpool, that football moves so quickly that you can't have one summer where you just kind of not relax, but kind of let the team settle or whatever it is. You need to keep moving, you need to keep up. So I think things could get a little bit stagnant for Liverpool. And actually, their record post-Christmas is pretty terrible. I think they've won around 40% of their games since Christmas. So they started the season incredibly well, as we saw, 20 points ahead. And they got to the point where they couldn't lose it. So even when they lost to Watford, lost to Arsenal...
With a big smile on his face, he said that.
They started to slip, and you could see that things were kind of... I keep using the word, but stagnating a little bit. And I think maybe they could be victims of that this year. They will still be up there. Of course they will. They'll still be challenging. They've got an incredible team. But I think maybe teams are improving around them too much.
I think that a brilliant point they made on the Totally Football Show podcast is that Klopp was supposed to bring Liverpool back to the dance, but they weren't supposed to be hosting the dance. And now they've won a Champions League. The next year, they've won their first Premier League in 30 years in an incredible fashion. And now, I mean, it's hard to stay up there, you know? The fans are going to be wanting more. And it's so hard to get in the Premier League top four that I think this year is going to be very, very interesting to see how things unfold. Very quickly, how do you feel about City not really spending on the transfer window?
I feel like, well, they brought in Nathan Ake from Bournemouth, who's...
And also, let's remind our listeners that the transfer window is still open until October 4th. So there is still time for signings for selling
there's still
players.
plenty of time for things to change. So this is quite an early prediction, admittedly. I think City have done well to bring in Nathan Ake, but I think their trend of constantly spending a lot of money on defenders whilst their defence never really gets any better is kind of a bit of a concern. They spent a lot of money on Walker, on Stones, on Laporte, on whoever. They've spent more on defence than Bosnia and Herzegovina, but their defence still doesn't get any better. So I think maybe there's a deeper lying issue there. But they've brought in Torres from Valencia, who is very highly rated. And then two young players. I think they were kind of pinning all their hopes on Messi, I think, and now they will start to focus on other targets. Now that's not happening. So I think there will be a lot of movement from Man City in the next couple of weeks, I can imagine. Obviously, the Serie A link, Koulibaly's being linked to them quite heavily, which I think would be a game changer. But you've seen more of him than me. What do you think?
I think Koulibaly is a one-of-a-kind defender. He's a very, very talented defender. He's possibly in the top three centre-backs in the world right now. And I think he's got a very good relationship with Gattuso and he loves Naples, but he's been linked to bigger clubs for quite a while now. I mean, every summer they talk about him going to City or going... I think City has always been the strongest link.
There was links to Liverpool as well at one point.
He's an incredible player. He's a game changer, and I feel like Man City need someone like him to really, literally guide the back four.